Give me the best example of a Roman buy that.
The best story is the FP Journe set that we bought. It was a 38 millimeter set that we bought. It was the tribute to the 38 millimeter line. So when Journe went from 38 millimeters into the 40 millimeter pieces, he made 38 sets. Obviously,
makes sense.
38 millimeters, right? 5 of his best pieces, right? Tourbillon, it was five different complications. They were all unique in the sense that they were made out of stainless steel, which none of those watches were ever made in stainless steel. They had unique gold dials, which none of those watches came with gold dials. And there were just some subtle differences in those watches. When the regular production prior to that has never been done. It was a set that retailed originally for $328,000. At the time that it came out, you could probably even get a discount on it because this is pre-Journe going haywire. And the set was traveling around, and everybody has an opinion when it comes to a big ticket item. Speaking of watch box, I think it's worth 1.4. Spoke with somebody from Journe. I think it's worth 1.1, 1.2. Had a big collector that came in here, talking a big game, wanting to buy the set. Well, I think it's worth 1.3, 1.4. Every time people tell me that, I ask them, can you get me one? If you can buy one for 1.1, I will pay you 1.2 because I pay 1.6. And I said that to the guy from Journe. I said that to Watchbox. They're like, oh, you're crazy. You got balls. But it's not about balls. It's common sense. I use logic of the following. If I have the exposure and I have the type of clientele that can afford a product in a certain price range, i.e. 2 million, 3 million, right? Sold plenty of those watches, plenty of times over, and we have the clientele, i.e. in the back of my head, I know who I'm going to offer that set to before I even pull the trigger, right? Because it's not a set that you just, blow up on the internet, and it's something pretty rare. We ended up selling the set for about $2 million. We ended up selling the set for $2 million. And, everybody was not shocked when that happened. Those that told me, I think it's worth less. They're like, well, it's the only one that's in the world. Because the biggest problem with that set was, even though 38 is a lot of sets, probably 36 of them were broken up into separate pieces. Because people that bought them, they kept the one watch and they sold up the others. There was no actual box, and this was still NOS. So I tend to go for some of the biggest stuff. Another case in point, a while back, we had a 𝗴𝗿𝗲𝗆𝗀, which we ended up also selling for $2 million. And people were like, well, based on the yellow ones and based on this. I'm like, guys, there are 3 in the world. One is in a museum in Oman. One is with a collector, a Turkish collector in Germany who's got more money than Germany. And we have the only one in the world that's ever probably going to be available. That watch will never come back out on the market. I mean, this is a watch in the lines of like the auction we just discussed on Watch Newsweek. I forget the collector's name, who's got like the sickest. Yeah, he's got the sickest collection, right? It's one of those things where, again, sometimes you have to be willing to pay up. And there are some pieces out there that are worth what one is willing to pay for them. And that case in point is me first, because that's what I'm willing to pay for it. Again, obviously there are limits, that's not a $12 million set. Those are really good, clear-cut examples. And when you're talking about the high-end stuff, the rest of the stuff, I look for value, right? Because I always preach value on a lot of the unboxings and the episodes and stuff like that. And guess what? 9 out of 10 guys that are watching my unboxings, and they'll have the Rolexes, the APs, the Richard Milles, the hot stuff that they see all over the Instagram. It goes in one ear, out the other. But there is a small percentage of people that actually understand and take it for what it is. Because normally, what do you hear me say? Hey, listen, this is a lot of value for your dollar, horologically, or historically, or design-wise. There's so many facets to a watch besides, this is a hype model. And I don't downplay hype. Why don't I downplay hype? Because that's become a clear-cut number one priority in the world of watches as of late, due to what we're doing, social media, right? Celebrities and so on and so forth. But there's going to be that small percentage of guys that are going to look at an annual calendar Patek, perhaps an older one, which is a Roman buy, or an older Breguet, or a Daniel Roth, will say, oh my God, this represents a historical watchmaker. This represents a horological innovation, or just horological value in turn, where I can buy a Pepsi GMT or an old annual calendar Patek, who's the Rolls-Royce of all watches. Yeah. People still do listen to that. So the Roman buys, and it doesn't mean that Roman is not out there buying Royal Oaks for, again, Roman doesn't do a whole lot of buying, because we have a procurement department. We have three people that do that. Often? What's that?
I said, does Roman talk about himself in the third person often?
Yes, of course he does. But we have an entire procurement department. There's a process, and believe it or not, I still run my purchases through Adrian and his team, because that's why, otherwise why have a team? If I'm gonna have a team in charge of that, I'm not gonna, overstep that.
Of course.
It's like me telling you what to do in marketing.